Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. And this video is to bring you a closer look at the IVES number RB471 in a B3. This is an IVES roller bumper. That's the RB part of the part number, roller bumper. This is a piece of equipment that is used to obviously stop a door, but it's used in instances where you have a couple of doors that are making contact with each other. And the roller bumper allows, if this is attached to one door, allows another door to strike it and move it, or, you know, basically get it pushed out of the swing of the door that's in motion. There are two types of roller bumpers. There is the straight, and then there's the curved. The curved and the straight are for different applications, and we're going to talk about those different applications in a moment. The straight model is available in two different sizes, about 4.5-inch projection and then about 6-inch projection. Okay, so the RB471, this is shown in the US3 or polished brass finish. This is, it'd be better to call this 605 because this is made of solid brass. 605 means solid brass base material with a polished and then lacquer coating applied to it. So that's what this item is. Let's take some basic dimensional properties, and we'll look at the documents that are listed down below here as well. Okay, so the base diameter, they have it 2-inch. Length, 4.5-inch. Okay, 4.5-inch. This will include fasteners. They are steel, so that's probably a good thing that they're not made of brass. Probably a number 8 by 1-inch oval head. Screws in a complementary finish. Extended information down below this video states that constructed of heavy-duty cast brass. The RB470 used where two doors open against each other to prevent damage to the doors or hardware, and that the replaceable roller bumper is available as well, which is the 09-137. Okay, let's take a closer look at that replacement bumper. There is a link below to the replacement roller bumper that's available. However, they only offer it, interestingly enough, in a chrome type finish. So you'll get the replacement roller bumper, but when or if you need to replace these rivets, which you will very likely need to do, they only offer the head of the rivet in a chrome type color. So expect that you're going to have to contend with a finish of a rivet that's not going to match if you have satin brass, polished brass, oil rub bronze. Okay. That, for some reason, is just the bottom line on that. So you can buy the replacement roller bumpers, but if you need to replace that rivet with a new rivet, color's not going to match. I suppose you could, you know, doctor that up so that it will, the new rivet, so that at least match better than something that would be strikingly different. Okay, now let's switch to the screen view so that we can take a look at the cut sheet and the product brochure and see where this item is used. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at, and we have our cut sheet and our product brochure here. And cut sheet, it's really more of a technical drawing, I suppose, or a template. And here is where we're going to see the RB471 and RB472 roller bumpers. Again, the only difference is the projection, 4.5-inch or 6-inch. And this is the important application here that we're contending with. Okay, you have two doors that swing into each other that would be technically one of each hand, a left-hand door and a right-hand door. Now, if you're dealing with this condition, where you have two doors that are of the same swing, you'll then use the roller bumper. Okay, so these are both very common applications. In the sense that you do unfortunately bump into these sorts of problems. The home I grew up in had this problem. This was the entry to the bathroom. This was the linen closet. This door was never fully closed. Okay, so it had damage on the face of the door. This was the home that I spent much of my adult life in, until we remodeled and I changed this to a pocket door because I wanted that problem utterly solved, because this was the bathroom in this scenario, and this was the entrance. So while you don't often see commercial hardware installed in residential applications, the fact of the matter is, these sorts of problems do indeed exist. The video that is here is 2 doors that would have required a roller bumper sort of scenario. But they got real creative by putting a wall bumper on this. Should this door have been open, this door would at least hit the wall bumper and push it. I guess the theory was it would push it out of the way. So keep in mind that the cut sheet that's there is going to define which unit you use and in what application. 2 doors swing into each other of opposite hands, 2 doors that swing into each other of the same hand. Okay. Now back to the product catalog page, we're looking at the product brochure, and this is again going to allow us to review the 3 different items that are available, and they are all here and listed. Okay. So this page is important because it's your cut sheet or your tear sheet. It does indicate the other finishes here that are available. US 3 for polished brass, US 4 for satin brass, US 10 for satin bronze, US 10B, that's for oil rub bronze, US 15 satin nickel, US 26 polished chrome, and US 2060 satin chrome. It would be more appropriate to call them by their BHNA numbers. However, they're all going to be cast brass. So the US 10 and US 10B, which is satin bronze and oil rub bronze, those would not be correct because they're not made of a bronze-based material, but nonetheless, they're going to be, they're going to be satin bronze and oil rub bronze. Okay, so this cut sheet is very important. You don't sell a lot of roller bumpers because you don't end up finding these or coming across these applications often, but when you do, the choice is to put on sometimes a large piece of commercial hardware, or you're going to have damage to the doors. That's guaranteed. That trim is going to damage the edge of the door. Every time I see doors like this with, actual experience, that door is going to be ajar. What'll happen is someone's going to open this door up into this door. The latch bolt's going to hit this door. You're just going to continue to push. Everything's going to scratch across the face of that door. So rather than hardware scratching the face of the door, it's better to have that rubber roller bumper that's there. Okay. Now, back to the screen view that we had here. This is a link to the manufacturer's page. A very helpful kind of link, and let's finish up this video on camera. Now that link to the manufacturer's page, if you're still looking at it, that is going to show you a link to the manufacturer's website, the full product catalog, and all of the IVES products that we sell. Other interesting documents are there. We've got, I can see that we have a couple of archival catalogs from IVES on that page. There's a catalog that dates to 1896. I did not know IVES went back to the 19th century. I assume they were a little bit younger than that. Then there's also a catalog from 1904. And if we're looking at the 1896 catalog, what's really striking is, for good reasons and for bad reasons, how very little hardware has evolved. The bad reason is hardware really hasn't evolved. It has in the electrified field. There's no question, obviously. The way that we expect locks to serve us now is wholly different than it was 100 years ago. Locks now are, we're expected to be able to control them electrically, to have them tell us when they're being accessed, to have an audit trail, to have data that's feeding us. Mechanical locks are slowly but surely being replaced with access control electrified hardware. I was recently in New York, in Manhattan, and access control seemed to be on every single opening. And the interesting thing about that is, name a city older than New York. Well, sure, of course you can. Okay, that's not hard. but New York is an incredibly old city. And here we are, an incredibly old city with such an impacted amount of access control installed in these doors that are decades old. So the move to electrification is clear and obvious. But when it comes to mechanical hardware, this trip through the IVES 1896 catalog, what's gone away is a lot of the ornate aspect of the hardware, but the pieces of equipment itself are very unchanged. Shutter bars, sash lifts, sash locks. The 1904 catalog that's there as well. IVES they did sash locks. They did ventilating locks as well, which I think I just scrolled past. Very educational to go back in time and to see what was available. Window stop adjusters that are there. They don't make those anymore, but window stop adjusters are very typical and very common. They do have their ventilating locks. And what's really neat about a lot of these things is that hardware that is for sure from the incredibly early part of the 20th century was unchanged. Okay? I'm sure the material thickness, where the material is manufactured, all that's changed and evolved over time. But it's just really great, if you've been around, if you've lived through different decades and you've seen different hardware, it's nice to go back and look at some of this catalog, this hardware. The transom hardware that's here, and what I mean is the pull-down hooks and transom locks. The grammar school that I went to in Chicago Public Schools, all of the classrooms had transoms above the doors. The teacher would take the long pole and effect that transom. So it's nice to be able to go back and look and see what's there. Anyway, that's all an aside. Anything encyclopedic or important or germane to IVES today is listed on that page, not just trips down memory lane, I suppose. The name IVES is synonymous with Truman Auxiliary Hardware and has been for obviously several decades. A name that's trusted. Sure, you can buy your flat goods, your kick plates, and your roller bumpers and wall stops from IVES. A lot of their line has eroded over time. Some of the stuff that you used to think of and know that you could get from IVES, they don't sell anymore. But they do have a nice offering of pivot hardware. If you do any work with offset or center hung pivots for full-size doors, take a look at their pivots. I like their pivots because, and I've worked on everyone's pivot, but what makes IVES noteworthy to me, from the perspective of someone who takes a telephone call from someone who is new to working on pivots, is that their installation instructions are accessible. They're not a grotesquely detailed single piece of paper that has more information per square inch than, meteor strikes on the moon. It's a document that allows you to initially start to grasp the concept of a fairly technical piece of equipment to install a pivot. So take a look at their pivots. Any questions on the RB471 in a polished brass US3 roller bumper or any other IVES product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.